Welcome to Spirited Debate. I'm Lauren Green. To be light is a biblical mandate, but we live in a world darkened by many troubles, both political and social. The Reverend Samuel Rodriguez says the church must do a better job of standing by the light of truth. He explains it in his new book, Be Light. The Reverend Rodriguez, who's also the president of the National Hispanic Christian Leadership Conference, joins me now. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Why is light such a very big biblical metaphor?
Oh, arguably one of the most powerful forces in all of creation and all of the universe. Ironically, in the past few days, I discovered through the Science Journal, as reported by this network, that at the very point of conception, the very first thing that happens is a spark of light. It always begins with light, and we have our choices. We can either condemn the darkness, whine about the darkness, complain about the darkness, be depressed about the darkness, or why don't we allocate all the resources in turning on the light? And that's the clarion call from Matthew chapter 5.
You know, one of the things, though, we think we know the difference between dark and light in terms of, the visual.
Indeed.
How do you tell the difference between dark and light when it becomes part of a world? How do you tell the difference between light and darkness?
The very powerful element is, regardless of the level of moral relativism that we're experiencing, people know. Even in various religious faith streams, not necessarily just Christianity, people know. It's innate. It's part of our spiritual genome, mitochondria, and DNA. We know. We know what darkness is. We actually know what evil looks like. We know bigotry and intolerance and hatred and unforgiveness. We know what darkness looks like. So this book is a prescription. Before we deal with the darkness in society, how do we deal with the darkness in each of our corresponding lives? I mentioned the lack of forgiveness, envy, jealousy, strife, whatever it may be inside of us. How do we deal with that darkness first? So the book lays out a biblically based prescription on how to confront the darkness and then go out there and confront the darkness in society.
You know, one of the interesting things you do in the book is you take the properties of light, actual light, and relate it to everyday world. Explain.
Reflection, refraction, albedo. My favorite one is refraction. The power of light hits an obstacle. Light does not die. It actually bends and it amplifies. We go through things in life. How many times does it seem that the proverbial light in each and every one of us hits an obstacle, a problem, infirmity, disease, something in our job, whatever it may be? That light does not die. It actually bends and it actually grows as we expand outside of what we thought would be the normative course. Very powerful. Albedo, you could only emit what you absorb. What are we absorbing in our vocabulary, in our language, in the people that surround us? Because we could only put out what we receive. These are all the properties of light laid out in the book, and we speak on a very practical basis for each corresponding life.
You know, we've got a political campaign going on here, and a lot of changes that seem to happen daily. How do you apply the idea of politics, actually apply the idea of light and darkness in the area of politics? And in the area of, how do you cast your vote? I mean, can you actually move that to that sort of platform?
Indeed, on two streams. One, we have to repudiate the darkness of rhetorical demagoguery, the hyperbole, the strife, the hatred, the animosity, this uber polarization of American society. We must turn on the light of American unity, regardless of our different political ideologies and worldviews. And then we have to look at our values. What guides us as we vote? Let's make sure we're driven by the light. There are values amplified and lifted up on the stand of truth. What are these values? The values of life, of human dignity, of the imago Dei, every single human being carrying the image of God. We should vote those values, be driven by a platform that grows the light and amplifies the light, rather than a platform that exacerbates darkness.
What if you find that there are no candidates out there, and I'm not saying that this is true,
I hear you.
No candidates out there who actually become that for you, that, should you not vote, or should you say, sort of hold your nose and say, okay, I got to vote for somebody?
Well, simply stated, the way that I would look at it, and if I happen to find myself right now in that sort of predicament, I would say be light as it pertains to the #1 outcome of this election that's forthcoming. And what is it? The Supreme Court. So I may not embrace the current candidates because of perceived levels of rhetorical darkness. Notwithstanding, it's the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has the power of exacerbating darkness in American society, impacting my kids and my children's children. So I will vote for the candidate that will protect our Judeo-Christian value system, our religious liberty, our form of limited government, the values that make us Americans. And I will do that with a little bit of angst, but understanding at the end of the day that every single time light stands next to darkness, light always wins.
Wow. The Reverend Samuel Rodriguez, the book is called Be Light. I want to thank you so much for being on Spirited Debate. You want to get more information, check out BeLightBook.com and also check out FoxNews.com. Thanks for watching the Spirited Debate. I'm Lauren Green.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.